Hare. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Shapadantikam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I have to. There's light coming this way. Hold on. You see that light? Looks like Shiva Tilak. We don't want Lord Shiva Tilak. It's not, we're Vaishnavas. I mean, we worship Lord Shiva, but yes, hold on. We honor Lord Shiva, that's for sure. That is better. Okay. And we're getting light from this side, but that's okay. We'll just leave that. So, the last class we had on this topic, we were reading from a letter by Srila Prabhupada, and the letter doesn't exactly talk about low self-esteem or self-envy or lack of self-confidence. It talks about blaming others for our problems. And the reason I read the letter is because when people who have low self-esteem tend to blame others for their problems. And we had discussed that if I am faced with feeling like a failure, if I'm faced with feeling that others are better than me, there's something wrong with me, then if I could blame another person for my failure, then I wouldn't feel bad. So we read a letter, we were reading a letter in class before I went to Dallas, and the letter, as you may remember, was written by a devotee who wanted to take sannyas. And he was complaining a bit about his wife, and Prabhupada said that if there's a problem with another devotee, it's not the devotee, but it's you. That's how you should see it. So that was the context of how we related this topic to that letter. Don't blame another person, but take it as yourself. Try to improve yourself. So this is a very basic principle, which unfortunately many of us don't get. And either we blame others or we envy others. I'm going to blame you for my problems, or I'm going to envy you because you're better than me. So we once had a discussion with a devotee. It was quite interesting. We were talking about this topic, and he admitted he had a problem which I think many of us have or have had and are working through. It's the problem that sometimes when a devotee is better than us, we don't like them because it makes us feel like there's something wrong with us, like, we're inadequate. If you're better than me, it can make me feel inadequate. And so it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel maybe there's something wrong with me. You're smarter than I am, but I may not look at it that you're very intelligent. I may just look at it that I'm stupid. And so you look intelligent compared to me. So rather than appreciate that you're intelligent, then I just think I'm stupid in comparison to you. And so if you make me feel stupid by being intelligent, I don't like you. And I don't really want to think about you and be around you. So that's one problem this devotee was expressing. And he was expressing it in a paradoxical sense, in the sense that we want good association. And so if someone is more intelligent, more capable, more Krishna conscious, a better devotee than we are, that's good, because that's good association for us. Yes? But the paradox is, the devotee was saying the other side. So one side, I find a devotee better than me, and it makes me feel uncomfortable because I'm not as good as he is, and I feel like I should be as good as he is. So it can make me actually feel bad to be around a devotee who's better than me. Oh, he's smarter than me. That makes me feel not so intelligent. Or he's more successful than I am. It makes me feel a bit like a failure. But he said the other side of it is, and this is so interesting, and you can consider if you're dealing with this, the other side of this is that when a devotee isn't doing well, I become critical of them. In other words, have you ever seen a devotee and maybe they're not very strict in their Krishna consciousness, or not very attentive to detail in their service, what we call spaced out, and then you demean them, you put them down, you have very bad thoughts or feelings about them. You said, you should be better devotee. I don't see you in the temple chanting your rounds, or when you're chanting, I see you talking. And so we demean them, we put them down, at least in our minds. So on one hand, we have devotees that aren't coming up to the standard that we put down. On the other hand, we have devotees who are above us and we're criticizing, or they're making us feel bad. So there's a saying, don't live, don't die. Oh, that's Indian. In America, we say, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know that saying? Yeah. So here's the devotee better than me. I don't like him because it makes me feel bad. And here's a devotee who's not doing so well in Krishna consciousness, and I don't like him because he's not doing well. Like, well, who do I like? Like it's a very awkward situation. I don't know if you've been in that situation, but I'm making the assumption we've all been there, and maybe we're still there now. You know, we've often said that if a devotee lacks a similar characteristic or ability that you lack, or is having a similar challenge that you're having, oftentimes when you see that devotee, it's disturbing because you don't want to be reminded that you have that problem. So this devotee, like, let's say you overeat, and another devotee overeats. You don't like that devotee. You'd rather be around a devotee who doesn't overeat, because that devotee reminds you that you're overeating. Have you ever had that experience? You don't chant your rounds well, and you know it's a problem, and then you're around somebody who's chanting really poorly. They're talking, they're not concentrating, they're telling jokes while they're chanting. And you see that it bothers you because you do the same thing. Have you ever had that experience? So we don't like it when people have similar qualities to ourselves, if those are qualities we don't like about ourselves. And we don't like it when people don't have those qualities, because it reminds us that we have those qualities. So now what do you do? Well, suicide's an option, but I'm not recommending that. I could get into trouble. And Srila Prabhupada didn't recommend suicide. We're only joking. But what do? Somebody's better than you, and it makes you feel bad and you're envious. And somebody's lower than you, and you put them down. So, well, one of the things that we learn, which is basic instruction, well, how do you deal with this? Well, what do we learn from Nectar of Devotion? What do we learn from Nectar of Instruction? If somebody's better than you, if someone has better qualities than you, wow, there's this weird bird outside. Oh my God, looks like a woodpecker. So many birds on my property because we have trees. And birds like trees, right? No trees, no birds. So, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. What does it say? Well, if someone's lower than you and they're struggling, it shouldn't make you feel like, oh, I don't like you. Don't hang around with me because I might get your disease. You know, you eat too much. And if I hang around with you, I might eat too much. So get away from me. Okay, we're exaggerating here, but you understand the principle. Right? So what does Nectar of Devotion say? What does Nectar of Instruction say? Well, there's somebody lower than you, you should What? Be merciful, be kind, help them, not put them down, not demean them. You piece of dirt, get away from me. No, you help them, you're compassionate. That's mercy goes from above to lower. So when you're able to help somebody, then you show them compassion. And if someone's above you, you appreciate, you respect. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's quite an interesting phenomenon that goes on in this world. When you respect somebody and you serve somebody, you imbibe their qualities. When you demean somebody, you imbibe the quality that you're demeaning. Isn't that amazing? So if you appreciate somebody, oh, Prabhuji, Mataji, you are so amazing. You are so beautiful. You're so intelligent. You're such a good singer. You're such a good actor. You're so funny. You're such a nice devotee. You're so humble. You're so compassionate. It is said that when you appreciate another person, you take on their qualities. That you become compassionate. I can't. Okay, then now everybody's thinking, okay, I don't know how to sing. So if I just compliment a devotee who has a good voice, then I'll be able to sing, and I don't even have to take singing lessons. Not exactly like that. What it means is you imbibe the qualities. So if you're glorifying someone, you're so compassionate, you're so kind. Especially senior devotees, especially Guru, Bhagavatam says we imbibe the qualities of the person we're serving. Isn't that amazing? Someone has a quality, you want to serve them. What an amazing phenomenon. What a trick. Oh, there's a devotee. He's very humble and I'm very proud. I'm going to serve him and get some of those drops of humility to pour from his heart and infect my heart. That's actually how it works. Isn't that amazing? And when we criticize someone, what is so amazing is that the very quality we're criticizing, we take on. So this is amazing karmic reaction. So that's why this instruction is so perfect. If you help somebody, then Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita especially says how you help them is how you become helped. So however you work to help somebody, you get that help. You advance also. You get that help. Isn't that amazing? Whatever you give, you get more of. Where you shed light, you get more light. If you try to help somebody become more humble or more determined or whatever, you'll become more humble and more determined. Wow. Karma is amazing, isn't it? It's like you can't get around it. I'm going to try to get around it, but I can't get around it and succeed. It'll always come back and infect me. So that's the kind of like the insider story and why Scripture. One of the reasons Scripture says we should help those younger, befriend those equal, and honor those above us. Now, this class is on self-esteem, and so the reason this topic came up is that when we lack self-esteem, sometimes it's hard to honor those above us because we feel intimidated by them. They make us feel lower because they're better, or we perceive they're better. They may not be better. We perceive they're better, but they may be better, but that's okay. There's 7 billion people on the planet, so if you know anything about statistics, there's a high probability there are a lot of people better than us. But I have some good news for all of you. And I just want to straighten this camera a bit, if that's okay with you. I have some good news for all of you. Even if you find someone better than you, they're not you. And you have qualities and characteristics they don't have. Isn't that good news? So if you ever find that you're with somebody and by being with them, you're feeling intimidated, they're making you feel inferior. They're not trying to make you feel inferior. It's just they're so qualified, you feel inferior. Two things that we can do. Number one, as we've discussed before, we try to appreciate those qualities and use those qualities as an inspiration for us. But even if you can't do that, even if you're not there yet, that's what Prabhupada asks us to do, or advises us to do. But even if you're not there yet, you can think, okay, this person has so many good qualities which I don't have, and it can make me feel lower or lesser or inferior or, as we say, lack of self-esteem. But what qualities do I have that they don't have? Because I'm unique. And you will find you have qualities they don't have. Even though they're so amazing, you'll find you have qualities they don't have, right? So, now, we've talked about this before, but what's so interesting, what I find so interesting about this conversation is, if someone just tuned into this conversation and hasn't been in other classes, they might say, Prabhu, it's good if you feel inferior. That's humility. We're supposed to feel inferior. And they are right. We're supposed to feel inferior. And feel inferior in a way that pleases Krishna. But when we feel inferior, and the result of feeling inferior is that we become envious of another devotee, that's not the inferior we're supposed to be feeling. You see? Okay, so-and-so Prabhu is so intelligent, it makes me feel stupid. And someone might say, Prabhu, if you feel stupid, that's good, because that will keep you humble. Okay, but the problem is, if you feel stupid, you might become so discouraged from doing anything, or discouraged from doing anything intelligently because you think you can't. That's not humility, and that's a problem. So that's why we're talking about sometimes feeling inferior is not good, because it can produce envy, or it can produce laziness or a lack of confidence in doing something. I just read a quote. I don't know who wrote this. It's interesting. In fact, I could find it for you. I think. Let me see if I can. Yeah. This man is named Henry Link. I don't know who he is. But it's a great quote. While one person hesitates because he feels inferior, another is busy making mistakes and becoming superior. I'll read that again. While one person hesitates because he feels inferior, another person is busy making mistakes and becoming superior. Wow. Did you catch that? Should I say it again? Well, I'll explain it. If I was saying, if you feel inferior, then you're like, why? I'm not good at this, so why do it? Right? So he's saying, when you feel that way, you don't do it. While another person, he's doing it and he's failing. And he's learning by failing. Where the other person's not doing it because he feels like he's not capable. Okay, in some cases it's true. I have seen devotees who cannot sing on key. And for the pleasure of the other devotees, it's better they don't sing at all. I mean, sing quietly, because it throws off the kirtan. And some people are tone deaf, and they may never, ever, by practice and failing and practice, they may never be good. But what he's referring to is where you can become better by failing. And those who think they're failures don't try, and so the ones who are willing to fail become good. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if you've ever not done something because you think you're not good at it, or you think you're going to fail. And I think, as I'm saying, that's a double-edged sword, because according to Varna and Ashram, it's true, there's some things we are not suited to do. The problem is when you think you're not suited to do something that you can do, or you're not suited to do something your spiritual master asks you to do. I mean, he definitely wants you to do it. Then you can try and fail, and then learn through failing. So, there's some discrimination there, but in the context of what we're speaking about here, It's the context that you actually could be successful at something, but you feel you can't. Now, another interesting feature we've spoken about before, and I like going over things because I don't always know if you remember everything we discussed or what you pick up on, because some things register more deeply. And and it's good to hear things over. And I also forget, because I do a lot of classes, especially when I travel, I also forget exactly what we discussed in this class, because sometimes what we discussed in another class, I make an assumption we've discussed it here when we haven't. So, I forgot to do something amazing to improve the sound quality. Excuse me. I got so excited I forgot to plug in my microphone. It's recording audio, but I'm so excited also I can't find the input. That's amazing. How excited I am. Excuse me for a moment. It's like the input has disappeared, or my eyes don't work anymore. This is crazy. Oh, I know. I have something in the input. Now, can you hear better? Yes, tell me. Tell me. Oh, Prabhuji, that's so much. I can hear so much better now. Yes? You can hear so much better? Yes. Okay, now I completely forgot what I was saying. Class is over. I forgot what I was saying. So, tell me, what was I saying? I was like on a train of thought. It's louder, but there's some background noise. Do. Really? How about now? Less background noise? In theory, there shouldn't. Well, let me. Hold on. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Still background noise now? I hope there's no background noise in spiritual world. If there is, car, what about now? Different? What about now? Better, different, same? Yes, no, maybe. I think we're on a delay, like 20. I speak and then 20 seconds. Sound is less. Okay, now. How about now? Krishna Chaitanya, we hardly hear you. Oh my God, this is crazy. Really? That is so weird. It's not supposed to be that way. All right. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram. I am going to tell me if that's too loud. Now is good. Best quality. Okay, perfect. All right, I can hear better. Yeah. Microphone is on me. No. Oh, the microphone fell. That explains. Oh my God, this is like an audio engineer's nightmare. The microphone fell on the ground. Oh, Krishna. Now is it too loud? That means the recording is going to be, You know, I'm such a perfectionist about recording that sometimes Krishna plays tricks on me and this microphone fell. Oh, Hare Krishna. Now that we have a good recording, I have to say something really profound and powerful. Yes? So now it's better, or is it too loud? So my assumption is it might be too loud now. No? Perfect, okay. So, can somebody remind me the last point I was making? Can you believe that I can't remember the last point I was making? It's like crazy. I completely forgot. It was something we were talking about the duality of feeling bad, oh yeah, so, about success. Varnashram, you feel, you can't do something because you've been made to feel that maybe you're not capable, something's wrong. Oh yeah, so I exactly remember now. The wires, they're back together. Okay. I was saying that we had discussed a point previously in some classes, and I'm just reviewing something, but we're reviewing it, but now it's a little different context. So sometimes you get the same point, but it's in a different context. So we had spoken, and I had said that sometimes I don't remember if I told you or it was in a class, but there's a difference between thinking and feeling, right? Like somebody, you might be smarter than me, and I can see that objectively. You have 3 PhDs, and I'm a university dropout, and I fail all my science classes, and I had to study my math 3 times longer than everybody else. And my brain doesn't work in those areas, engineering, right? But thinking, that's objectifying. I understand that, right? But how do I feel about that? The feeling is different, right? So if you're better than me, smarter than me, you just like Emily, she understands astronomy really well and other scientific things. And she's an artist. She has those talents. So if you give me a paper and some brushes and ask me to paint, and then after it's painted and you see it, you're going to think, oh, that must have been done by an 8-year-old. That's, that's just how I paint, like an 8-year-old. Of course, some people like 8-year-old paintings, and some people make a lot of money selling paintings that they were done by an 8-year-old. Or if you ask me to explain the structure of the universe, I can explain according to Bhagavatam, but not as well as a scientist can explain. So that's just objectifying. That's just a fact, right? But how do I feel about that? That's entirely different, right? So I might feel like, Krishna gave me this ability to do music, or Krishna has given me the ability to be creative, or Krishna has given me the ability to be philosophical or analytical. And it's okay that I'm not scientific, or it's okay that I'm not an artist. In fact, I don't really like art, and I don't really like science, so no problem, right? You see? So thinking I'm not good at something, and consequently my feeling could be, well, that's fine. Or my feeling could be, oh, I'm so bad because somebody's better than me. So you understand the difference between thinking and feeling. Can we think of another example, right? You are more intelligent than me. Okay, you have a higher IQ. We did the tests, and your IQ is higher than mine. Okay. But how do I feel about that? That's just the thought. That's just an objective reality. But how do I feel about that? How do I feel about the fact that you're higher than me? I may feel very bad about that. I may feel very inferior to you. I may feel very discouraged. I may feel so discouraged and unhappy by the fact that you're so smart and I'm not as smart as you, that I could lose self-confidence. I could not do things that I'm really capable of doing. So then the thinking becomes the feeling. And the feeling, as we've said many times, is what determines action. So if you're smarter than me, that's no problem. More power to you. If it doesn't inhibit me from doing what I do well, it's not a problem for me. As we said, 7 billion people in the world, there are going to be some people smarter than you, a lot of people smarter than you. That's fine. But you're you, and you're going to be, you can do what no one else can do, and you will be you. Yes? In case you didn't know, you are you. And we've talked about in other classes how when a Prabhupada was dealing with us, he was like okay with who we were, and he would engage us according to who we were. It wasn't like everyone is made out of the same mold, and if you're not made of the same mold, you're rejected, or you're looked down upon, or you're condemned, criticized, what speak, being condemned, nothing like that. I was like, okay, you're an individual. You're good at this, he's good at that. So if we can think that way and then feel that way, then we can be around all kinds of devotees who are better, more qualified, more capable, and we'll just love it. It'll be fantastic. There'll be inspirations for us. And it will also help us realize, well, I don't have that quality, but I have this quality, as I said before. All of you have qualities that other people don't have. Even the people that are better than you, in many ways, you have qualities that they don't have. Just like Krsna Consciousness, she can predict the future. Like, she knows the future. I don't know how she knows. But she can tell you. Actually, all we have to do is bring couples in front of Krsna Consciousness and say, you don't have to do a compatibility test, nothing. Just say, is the marriage going to work or isn't it? And she'll close her eyes and go, it's going to work. It's not going to work. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. It's amazing. Right? I was telling you that I have a friend, Havi Prabhu, and he's such a musician, he'll just hear things. I go, you hear that? I'm like, what? I go, listen to that. Mm-hmm. And he'll start composing, just a sound that he hears. Some sound, excuse me, just straightening something. He'll hear some sound, like compose a symphony, some wind brushing against the leaf or a bird, in a car going by. Did you hear that? I go, what? Oh, that melody. Okay, all right, I didn't hear it. So we're all endowed with different qualities, right? You agree? I'm trying to stay out of that Shiva Tilak. Yeah. So we all have different qualities, right? And in Krsna Consciousness, maybe she's a good artist, maybe she's not, but she can definitely tell the future, and she knows how to sing. And she has so many other qualities, like she knows how to make tomato sandwiches with sour cream. Really good, but I can't eat sour cream anymore. So, but the really good tomatoes in Poland. If you go to Poland, eat the tomatoes, because they're really good. And the cream is really good, but it's not good for you. And there's a devotee that makes bread there. And that's basically was our fill-in when we weren't cooking. Yeah. So she's really good at doing that. And you're all good at doing something, right? And I quoted Prabhupada, and he said, someone said, I feel useless. A lot of us feel useless. I mean, especially when we compare ourselves to Jiva Goswami or Rupa Goswami, isn't it? I mean, how do you feel when you stack yourself up against the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan? You could feel like, my life's pretty useless, All I really think about is pakoras and halava. And then after I eat them, I get a little break for a few hours, or I do a little service, and I think about pakoras and halava again, So when I compare myself to the 6 Goswamis, I'm not looking too good, right? But Prabhupada didn't look at us that way. So to what he said, Prabhupada, I feel useless. And Prabhupada said, everyone is useless. Excuse me, everyone is useful for something. Because you can do something for Krishna and Krishna doesn't care. you sell one magazine. You are useful in Krishna's service. Yes. So that's the idea of the class today. Is we're going to fall into this paradox if we don't deal with it, that we don't like people above us because they're better and they make us feel like, why am I not getting the glory? They're getting the glory. And then we don't like people below us, think, oh, why don't you become serious? You're not serious. I don't like hanging out with you. So if we're like that, then what are we saying? I only like myself. I'm in love with myself. And I don't like anybody else. Or I hate myself and I hate everybody else. And either mode is wrong. And we want to be appreciative of the ones above us, devotees above us. We want to help the ones below us. And we do what we can with whatever we can. So this is this is kind of like the essence of you do what you can do, you be you don't have to be somebody else, and then do it well and contribute to the Krishna conscious movement, whatever it is. Whatever it is, just contribute. Whatever you can do. Everybody can do something well. And I think part of the problem, at least that I see, is a lot of devotees can do things really well and they don't even know that they're talented. They don't realize, no one's told them. They just take it for granted. A devotee was telling me, I was in Dallas, he was saying, periodically, teachers tell him that your son is like a super gifted musician. It's like any instrument he picks up, he just starts playing it. Like the music teacher can understand from, having dealt with so many students that your son is super. But his son doesn't realize that. And you know why he doesn't realize that? Because he was born with that talent. So for him, just pick up an instrument and play it. And his son is likely thinking, as most people do who are good at things, well, can't everybody do that? That's simple. Do you realize, I don't know if you realize this, but I hope you realize that everything that you do well, that comes easy to you, that you take for granted, and think everybody does it, it's not true. It may be true in some cases, but in many cases, what comes easy to you is, oh yeah, that's easy. I can figure that out, I can do that. You don't realize that it's a talent because you've always had it and it's easy. Right? Like, I give you some complicated mathematical problem and in like 3 seconds in your head, and it comes out. And I'm like, how did you figure that out? That was difficult. And you said, no, that was easy. And so you don't realize that you actually have a talent. So did you realize that not everybody can do that? No, I didn't realize that. It's easy. Right? So if something is extremely easy for you, it may be that, I'm trying to get out of the light, it's just coming up with it. It may be that, how's this? Let's try this. I have light in my ear. That's okay. It may be that that's a particular talent you have, that you're like super skilled or talented at. Oh, let's try this. The light behind me, that'll be dramatic. Okay. Look at that. Now we've lost Prabhupada's picture. Let's see. Uh-oh. Anyway, so the point is, if you're good at something, do it. And if you're not good at something, that someone else is better at it, applaud, give them an applause. And if you're good at something, help somebody else get good at it, because Krishna likes that and you'll become better at it. Now, Krsna Consciousness is bringing up another point, which we can discuss now. Sometimes saying that I'm useless may be a kind of excuse to do nothing. Yes, that's a very good point. And sometimes saying I'm anything bad can be an excuse not to improve in that area, and that's why we may say it. So you have to catch yourself and say, have you ever said, I am not good at this or useless at that, or I have such and such bad qualities? Have you ever said that? Probably you have. Oh, I'm no good at this. Have you said that because it's a fact, or have you said it because you haven't really tried to be good at it and you don't really want to be good at it, or you're too lazy to be good at it, or you don't think you can be good at it, etc. And therefore, by saying, I'm not good at it, you write it off and you don't have to do anything. Oh, Prabhu, we got divorced, but I'm not a good husband. Well, since you're not a good husband, it makes sense you're divorced. And actually, that explains everything, because people aren't good husbands. Generally, they end up divorced. So there's actually nothing wrong with you. It's just you were born a bad husband. And get on with life. Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand the mood, right? Oh, Prabhu, I'm not humble. Don't expect me to be, don't expect me to be humble. I'm not humble. Just like some people are humble, some people are not humble, and I'm in the category of the not humble. And, I wish I were humble, and I'm sorry I'm not humble. And, just if I ever offend you, please forgive me. And it's just the way I am. And, maybe someday, Krishna's mercy, I'll be humble. Have you ever heard one like that? And you can replace anger or compassion or tolerance. Or you can place anything with that. And, sorry, Prabhu, I'm not really tolerant. You never was, probably never will be. It's just the way I am. I can't tolerate this and that. I don't know. Must be in the DNA. Something like that, right? And I know I offend people, but, it's just the way. I've always been this way. I've tried to correct it, but I can't. So by saying it, it becomes your protection or your insulation so that you can be intolerant, but now you've told everybody you're intolerant, so everyone's like, okay, he's intolerant. Don't worry about him, right? Not good. So, Krsna Consciousness is saying, well, if you say I'm useless, well, if I'm useless, that means I don't have to do anything, because what can a useless person do, right? So if you look at your words and you see, am I saying I'm useless because I really believe it, or am I trying to get out of taking responsibility? Am I saying I'm not humble because I really don't want to be humble? Am I saying I'm not tolerant because I really don't want to try? Like, why am I saying these things? And another thing, which we've talked about before, which is worth repeating, is that by saying those things, you can reinforce them. You're going to say, I'm not humble, so that reinforces my pride. I'm just letting you all know I'm not humble. And now I'm 5% more convinced I'm not humble. Every time I say I'm not humble, I'm more convinced I'm not humble. So Sukumari has made it, so I think that's clear, has made a comment. I was just kind of elaborating on that point. I think that's clear now. So we can go to the next point. Sometimes I feel that there are so many things to improve about myself that it gets overwhelming, so I cannot work on everything at the same time. Yeah. Well, then the question is, what should you work on? And naturally, we should ask ourselves the question, what is that thing that you feel is the biggest obstacle for you in your Krishna consciousness or in your material life? Well, just by turning that, you get light. What's the obstacle of this? What's your obstacle? Look at I have to try all these approaches to lighting. I'm like fascinated by lighting because I do so many videos. How lighting works in different environments, right? There's a window in front of me, and the sun is over there, and that's like really good lighting, generally for video, but that's coming over there. But, okay, hold on. I realized what happened last time I got up, the mic fell out. I'm going to close this. Now, we're just getting lighting in front of us, I think. Yeah. Okay, how's that? That's good, right? What do you think? Move it over. I'm such a... Sometimes I like to get things like perfect. You know, I split hairs like over sound quality, video quality. It's a good quality, it's a bad quality. You get things, you can get things done well, but sometimes I try to get things done well. But I don't have to be done that well. That becomes a problem, you know. But anyway, devotees experts, so we try to be expert as far as we can. Not always so able. Now the light over there, wow. So, so maybe we could reformat your question and to focus on this question. What do you need to work on that's most important? Or you could look at it, what is getting in the way of what I want to achieve? Or what is the obstacle I need to deal with? Like, do I have to improve myself in an area that's really creating a problem for me, you know? Like, and of course, that would depend on you being very clear about what you want to achieve, where you want to go, who you are, and so forth. Right? Because if you're not clear about what you want to be or what you want to achieve, then it's hard to understand the obstacle. It's like if you go for, like we used to when we were young, they had this thing called Sunday drive. So you get the car of the family and you just drive in the country and just, you know, these big cars, and you just drive and go to the country and have a good time, go on a picnic. So, you know, you could get in the car and then say, where are we going? Say, we're just going for a drive. It's just wherever we feel like it, right? So then you don't really know what the obstacle is. Oh, there's a road, there's a detour. Okay, we'll take the detour. It's not an obstacle because you're not going anywhere. So you only know the obstacle when you know where you're going. And you only know how big the obstacle is according to the intensity or the need to go there. The intensity of the desire to get there or the importance of it. So, that's my suggestion. You should work on Maitreya, you work on what's the obstacle. Maitreya is saying, well, can you focus on good japa and solve most problems? And we've discussed this before. And it's such an interesting question because one of the biggest problems in our spiritual life is bad japa. But good japa is not a panacea for every, you know, like, Prabhu, if I chant good japa, will I get rich? Depends on how much you make at your job. Prabhu, if I chant good japa, will I get a raise? Depends how well you work at your job. Prabhu, if I chant good japa, will my swollen ankle get better? Maybe if you meditate on your ankle while you chant japa. I mean, you know, it may be possible. There's a story. I mean, you know, nowhere in the Shastra does it say your body's going to heal. Although Prabhupada did say, you chant Hare Krishna one time, he said it would heal. But there's no Shastric verse that says, well, you chant japa to heal your body. It may heal you because the energy is so positive. But we've talked about this before. My conclusion is the catch-22 is, there's two catch-22s here, is that, let's say, theoretically, we said, japa is a panacea for every problem you have, for your stomach ache, for your mental illness, for your low self-esteem, It's the panacea for getting raises, for getting good jobs. It's the panacea for focusing. It's a panacea for prioritizing, and etc., etc. It's a panacea for not spacing out. Okay, we all know that's not true because we've all been chanting japa and we're still spaced out and we still haven't got all the raises we want and this and that. So we know that the holy name is not meant to produce something material. But just let's say for the sake of discussion, let's say that's true, because in a broad sense you could say, well, if you're totally surrendered to the holy name, Krishna will take care of you, he'll heal your body, you'll get the money you need and so forth. Now we can't deny that. But the catch-22 is, until we chant purely, how would those things manifest? Right? So like I have a problem right now. I just got fired, I don't have any money, got to find a job. What am I going to do? Am I going to go to the classifieds and go to the, online, look for jobs? No, I'm going to chant 64 rounds and Krishna will provide. Now, maybe he will, if you have that faith and your chanting is that pure. I don't want to say it's not possible, but I would say it's not the intention of the holy name to find you a job. That's at least that's not what Shastra says. Chant Hare Krishna and you'll find a good job. Okay, you might say, Krishna will protect you. Yes, that's true. But do I have that faith? Can I chant that purely? That the holy name would solve all my problems. So that's one consideration. The second consideration is, if I have all these problems that the holy name is supposed to solve, is it not that these problems are preventing me from chanting purely? And I would say in many cases, the answer is yes. The problem the holy name is supposed to solve, it can't solve because the problem is preventing me from chanting purely. You understand? So I don't think there's like one answer to this question. I think it's kind of generic because everyone's situation is different. But let's use the example of anger. I have an anger issue. Let's say I have an anger issue. I can't stand it when things don't go my way. I scream at people. So I'm chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But my anger issue is so big that I'm making offenses to devotees, right? And when I'm making offenses, it's ruining my japa. So you see what I'm saying, that catch-22? That sometimes I might just have to say, okay, I really have to work on this anger because it's getting in the way of my ability to chant properly. I'm committing offenses to devotees, or I'm intolerant. If you're intolerant, you can't really do bhajan well because we have to be tolerant to be able to do bhajan well. Look at that background. Okay, that's better. So, we can answer this question in different ways, but I'm going to read the comments, and then Maitreya, yours is third in line, we'll get to yours. And I don't want to ever minimize the potency of japa, because sometimes, good japa is like, whoa, every problem in the universe went away. At least today it went away. I chanted good japa. But I think there is a reality that if anarthas are serious, like Prabhupada says, you have to pull the weeds, so the weeds getting in the way because it's choking the creeper. And so you're chanting and you're pouring water on the creeper, but there's all these weeds around, and the weeds are growing, so you have to pull the weeds. So when you chant, the weeds don't grow, just the creeper grows. Okay, so yeah. Maitreya said he liked that answer, so that's good. Maitreya and I are old Sankirtan buddies from San Diego. We must have collected millions of dollars for Krishna. And now look at us. What do we have? Some people say, I gave it all to Krishna and now I have nothing. It's like, what an honor. It's not an honor. You collect so much money and you don't take anything. You just give it all to Krishna. No higher bliss. Everybody thinks it's blissful to make a lot of money and buy stuff. The highest bliss is to make a lot of money and just don't even take it. Because we were brahmacharis, well, you take enough to, for your bananas and sour cream and, your lunch. and your Sankirtan shoes and a Sankirtan bag. Other than that, you were good. So you could get all this money, you collect hundreds of dollars a day and just turn it in at the end of the day. Wow. There's nothing more blissful than making money and giving it all to Krishna. Is it? That's like amazing. So, Krsna Consciousness says, it is said that along the instruction of the Guru is the power to execute it. It comes, I was wondering about the situation when Guru is giving instruction we're not capable of. Yeah. Well, you know, in the perfect world, the Guru won't give an instruction you can't execute. We don't live in a perfect world, unfortunately. But generally, Guru will know the disciple, so he won't give an instruction. I'm trying to hit the C more. Because we feel capable to execute if we feel that we will not be able to make it. Sometimes I think it's important. Guru gives you instructions. Say, Guru Maharaj, you gave me this instruction to do this, but I'm really bad at that. And if I do it, it's probably going to create a problem. And you might say, okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. You need this done today. I'll have to learn this software. I'm a really slow learner. It's probably going to take me a few days. I think it's better we find someone. So that's in the service of the Guru. Sometimes you can say, better we find someone else. That would be better for his service. So you could, that's there, right? You could do that. Okay. Trying to make more adjustments here. In the perfect light, the world of perfect lighting, which I don't live in. The perfect lighting's in the next room, but there's no desk there. I kind of would have to stand up. So, yeah. Now, then the Guru says, I don't care, just do it. You go, okay, I'll do it and fail. If he's okay with it, then, no problem. Sometimes the Guru may ask you just because, he wants to test you. Like, Guru Maharaj, if I go on a book distribution, I'm an introvert and no one will take a book. That's okay, just go out. Because the Guru knows you're going to be purified by doing that. So he says, just go do it. And you come back and I distributed 3 books, but you are so happy and ecstatic. So sometimes that's there. So it's no problem if you're in the interest of service, say, I don't think it, would you like to be temple president? I say, well, I'm not really good. The last time I was temple president, everybody left the temple went bankrupt. It probably is better I don't do it. Unless you give me an accountant, you give me an assistant, you give me training, this and that, In the interest of your service, the interest of Krishna's service, probably better I don't do it. So that's there. So yeah, it's good to know capabilities. But the other side of this question, Krsna Consciousness, is that sometimes the Guru may know something you don't know. That he may know you can do something you don't think you can do, and he'll push you. And then you'll realize that actually you can do this, or you're good at this. Or it just builds faith. And he said, Krishna empowered you. You didn't think you could do it. So that's there also. So, they can't just be, I'm never going to do this. No, Guru Maharaj doesn't understand me. No, he may understand you better. He might be saying, I see a fear in you. That's unwarranted. And I want you to do this service, get over this fear. And then you do it. It's like, oh, okay. It was a, good experience for you. If one fails repeatedly in their attempts to improve, each failure feels like an affirmation of being useless. How does one look at failures? Well, I can't say, let me speak generally about this, because I don't know your situation. And if it doesn't relate well enough to your situation, you could ask the question again and be more specific. One of the problems in failure is that I may be trying to be somebody else and I'm failing at being someone else instead of being myself. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, in ISKCON, when you come, you've been around a few years, people ask you, well, when are you getting initiated? So that's kind of the culture. You should have a guru, take shelter, and then eventually take initiation formally. And there's certain things expected of you, right? So, now, let's say you're not really ready for initiation. And somehow or other you get pushed into it, or you think you're ready, but you weren't. And now down the road, you're realizing, actually, I wasn't ready. And so now you feel like a failure. Whereas if you didn't get initiated, you wouldn't feel like a failure. You would just feel like, I'm not ready yet. So I'm not like these brahmacharis, so I'm not ready for initiation now. I mean, you could feel like a failure if you wait 20 years to get initiated, but you may not if you understand that, well, it's not that everybody gets initiated right away, everyone's ready for it. Right? So I wasn't ready for it, and you're okay with that. Then, now you're not a failure. I tried to be temple president because I thought that after being a devotee for so many years, if I really wanted to do the best service, I should be temple president, and I tried, and I failed. Because by nature, you're not a manager, but you're a really good teacher. But now you feel like you're a failure because you've tried 3 temples you've managed and you've failed 3 times. But actually, you're a great preacher, and that's what you should be doing, and that's what you succeed at. Because I can't believe that you are a failure at everything. Okay, I tried to be married and it failed. Maybe you should have never got married. Maybe you're not cut out for being married. I tried to be a computer programmer and sit in an office under fluorescent lights for 12 hours a day, writing code and searching for bugs, and I can't do that. But there's all these other guys, they're doing it and they're fine. There must be something wrong with me. No, you're probably an artist or a writer or a musician or a creative person. And not really a science, math guy, engineering type guy. So you're not a failure, it's just you're different. So let's start there as an answer to your questions. Like, do you want to hear something really interesting? I don't know how this happened, but the last semester before I became devotee, I had 3 classes. One was in Bhagavad Gita. I believe the other one was in English literature. And the third one was in music. And I got a D in music. D, she didn't want to fail me because I guess I tried. I was like, could you imagine? I almost failed music. And since then, I think I made 7 CDs. So I failed by her standards, but I didn't fail by the standard of making a CD of Mahamantra chanting or Brahma Samhita. So, one sense I was a music failure, in another sense I was a success. I could sit down and sing and chant, but the music theory, somehow or other, I wasn't interested. Or I didn't get it. I know what happened. I'm a very spontaneous person, so music for me is emotional. And then we are having to write it and learn it that way. It was like someone who can go to a country and learn a language and start speaking. Why would you sit in a class and study in a book? It wouldn't make sense. So I was like that. I could just, write scores in my head. I didn't even know how to write them. I could just sing them and let someone else write them. So I didn't do well, right? I think I told this story. Oh, it's a great story. We told it before. When Einstein was in school, his mother got a note from the teacher and said that your son is like, he can't stay in school. He's just not learning anything. He's not, he's just like, he should just go work or something. This is a waste of time, right? But you know what his mother told him? He said, your teacher said you're too smart for school and we're going to have to educate you separately. Right? So, by their standards, he was a failure. But she understood he was a genius, right? So, that's another thing to consider. By society's standards, you may be a failure. Right? Yes or no? Yeah, you might be. But by by society's standards, a lot of devotees are failures. Some devotee may not even have a car. You don't even have a car. Oh my God, you're 50 years old, you don't have a car, and you live in a studio apartment and you're not married? Like, what is wrong with you? Get a life. And that devotee will say, I got this amazing life. I have like no overhead. I chant all day. I teach people about Krishna. Doesn't get any better than this. So if you look at it that way, you're a success. If you look at it by comparing it to materialistic people, you're a failure. So, when you ask this question, then I would ask, well, how are you defining success and failure? Because, you can define success and failure in a way that you'll feel like a failure all the time. When I started doing workshops and seminars, I was like confronted with this situation, because the most successful person in this industry, or the most successful people in this industry, are really, really passionate people, or they're really, really business oriented. And I'm not that passionate, and I'm not that business oriented. And so I just had to make a decision early on that I'm not going to... Where is this light coming in from? I'm not going to measure my success by comparing myself to them. Because if I compare myself to them, I'm not going to look successful. But if I just be me and then become me, then I'll be successful in my own way. Right? And so that was an important decision. Otherwise, I'd just be copying them because they're the standard of success, quote unquote, right? In that industry, as speakers, as teachers, as writers. And, it's not that I can't, but I would have to choose. No, I want to be like them, and I'd have to choose to be like them, but I didn't want to be like them. There was one that I valued, and I could relate to, that I wanted to be like, and that was okay, because we were pretty much the same. Me being like him was me being like me. So I could use him kind of as a mentor in the sense that he was super successful, but he wasn't like the others that I couldn't relate to. So, so my point is, you don't want to define success in a way that makes it impossible for you to succeed. You know what I mean? Define success in a way that makes sense for you. Like, okay, right? Let's say I hear that one of my godbrothers is chanting 64 rounds a day. So then I'm thinking, I'm chanting 32. Let's say I'm chanting 32. Let's say I'm chanting 48. Let's say I'm chanting 54. And I go, I'm chanting 54, he's chanting 64. Must be something wrong with me. And I tell you, what do you think's wrong with me? I'm only chanting 54. And you say, oh my God, you're chanting 54. I can't even get 8 rounds done a day. I have no taste. I have no time. You're chanting 54. You're amazing. So, from one perspective, I'm amazing. From another perspective, I'm a failure. And so, we have to be... It's super important to understand that we have been raised with standards. And those standards are defining what we consider failure and success. And those may not really be the standards by which we should judge failure or success. So rather than let failure or success be defined by social standards, and then we bring those social standards into ISKCON, it should be defined by what is success according to what's pleasing to Guru and Krishna. That's very important, because success is being defined for us in so many places, right? And that's just unfortunate, because we start evaluating things in the wrong way, Like, we were looking at cars. My daughter goes to college now, and she's like, we don't have a car. She goes off, and I'm like, we can't do anything. I'm like, I need to do this and that. Oh, they wait till she gets back. So we're looking at cars, right? So my wife and I have different definitions of success for a car. Like, my idea of success is get a 2002 Honda Civic with low miles for a few $1,000s that's been really well taken care of by some very wealthy family who takes care of cars. And I showed it to her, and she goes, it's so old, and it's so ugly. And she goes, and then she finds another car, and she goes, now that's the car. And I said, yeah, no, but for me, success is, right now, we don't have a lot of money, so if we can get a reliable car and spend hardly anything on it, then I think, wow, I've achieved success. And she looks at me and says, No, you failed because you have an ugly car. And you don't know how reliable it is because it's so old. Who knows what's going to happen? And it's a Civic. It's not even that safe. Now if you got a Volvo, that'd be success. You see? So now if I don't get a Volvo or I don't get a, later model car, then I'm not successful. Even though, I found the ultimate deal, the ultimate car, with the ultimate person, the right price. So you see? So in her eyes, I'm a failure. In my eyes, I get, we saw. So my wife is going to be working a little bit. So she needs a car also, and I'm going to be gone, so we don't need 3 cars, thankfully. So she's going to be gone, my daughter's going to be gone. And then we found this old Volvo. It was like a 1994 for $800. I go, that's it. $800. It'll get you into Gainesville every day. She zooms in on it. She sees the seats are torn. She goes, I can't drive that thing. The seats are torn. That's a jalopy, So, I'm thinking $800 Volvo that'll last 6 months before it blows up. At least, for 6 months you'll have a car until we make some more money and get a real car. And I think, that's success for me. So, I guess I'm a failure. I don't know. I have to get some psychotherapy now. Because I'm a failure. I'm a car failure. Well, we haven't got the car yet. We could get a car loan and get a better car. I don't have to put much money out. So, all of those of you who are looking to think you want to move to America, I have some news for you. It is so expensive. This is a side point. Ladies and gentlemen, you would not believe, I went to the doctor, as you know, and I spoke to the doctor for 7 minutes, told her everything that was wrong with me. She focused on one thing, doing an EKG for my heart, and sent me off to the cardiologist, right? And I have medical insurance, and I just got the bill. The 7-minute talk was $335. The EKG, which cost in Mayapur, how much did the EKG cost? I think it was $3, cost $90. So EKG and a 7-minute talk at a doctor and a referral to the cardiologist was $425. And I have insurance, so I thought, hey, I've got insurance, no problem. I get the bill. The insurance only pays half of it. Now they want $170. It's like, for a 7-minute talk, you want $335. Okay. Welcome to America. That's like amazing, isn't it? So all those of you thinking moving to America, unless you got a really good job, or living in the middle of nowhere in a broken down mobile home, you should have second thoughts about coming here. It is expensive. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, yeah. That was like crazy. I have medical insurance. Medical insurance says, yeah, you go to the doctor, you pay like $10 copay or something. Yeah, $170. Crazy. So Maitreya said, when my japa is good, there are no problems. It must be pure japa naturally, so make it pure. Haven't we suffered enough? Chant purely. Can't we just demand that our mind follow our heart? So we have to become ekah. Yeah, my realization is Maitreya, when you chant good japa, there's no problems while you chant good japa. And for the few hours after, maybe that day. But when you don't chant good japa, there are problems. Which means, that, when we're hearing and chanting, Prabhupada said we're in Sattva-gun. That's why there are no problems. But my realization, and I think this is super important, my realization is that always look at devotees who, when they're hearing and chanting and in kirtan and fully engaged, were like really good and they didn't have problems. But, when that slowed down or they got married and then they had to go out in the world and they couldn't be hearing and chanting as much, they had a lot of problems. And I was thinking, well, where were those problems when they were, fully engaged? And obviously the problems were there, but they weren't affecting them. And my realization was that they didn't realize they had those problems, and they weren't working on those problems, and that's why when they became a little weak, those problems started to get them. I didn't realize I have this problem because I'm just on Sankirtan and chanting good rounds. So I think probably it was a lack of introspection and self-honesty. But japa is so powerful, the holy name is so powerful, just like, it's like a big torch in the middle of the night. Or as one devotee said, it's like a candle in a dark room, because 16 rounds is only 2 hours out of 24, but that's enough to lighten the whole day. So, let's see. Next, I'm just looking for comments now. So, feeling unqualified means being depending on Krishna, yeah. That's also, okay, so that's, Humanitas reminded me, the Krishna conscious way to feel unqualified is, it's an empowerment. That if I feel unqualified, that will depend on Krishna. Like when Krsna Consciousness question, what if I don't feel qualified to do it? So in some cases, we just say, Guru Maharaj, if I do this, you want me to cook this offering, nobody's going to eat it, I don't know how to cook, everything I touch tastes bad. But then he might say, okay, we have to have good cooks for the deities, so we're not going to let you cook. All right. The other side of that is I'm unqualified. Krishna, I'm willing. Please give me the qualification. And, there must be some basic qualification, like I know how to turn the oven on, the stove on. I know the difference between wheat flour and water and butter and, obviously, right? So in some cases that actually I can do it, I just need to depend on Krishna to empower me more. So that's yeah. Does that make sense? So yes, that's an important point. Feeling unqualified in the empowering sense is, okay, I'm not qualified to do this, so Krishna, will you help me do it? And I'm willing to do it. Let's do it. I don't hesitate. That's the idea. Ever tried, ever failed, never mind, try again, fail better. Beckett. Yeah. Because if you keep failing, you'll figure it out sooner or later, or you'll figure out you shouldn't do that. Like my last CD, it was difficult for me because I did all the engineering and everything went from analog to digital, so everything was on a computer, and it was very awkward for me. And I did learn something from doing that I never want to do that again. That's what I learned. So sometimes that's what you learn. Never going to do that again. I did such, you might say, well, the CD came out good. Yeah, but you don't realize it took 10 years. You don't realize how much time I spent failing to get it right. Shamanandi ki jai. All of my worst problems I've traced to weakness in my japa, yeah. Especially pride, sexual desire, because the holy name is like cutting right to the essence of our material conditioning. So Maitreya says, when Gandharvika and I moved to Florida, I had to build a place for our stuff so they would not get wet, and I slacked on my japa for the first time ever. Boom, disaster. Krishna took away everything. Yeah. Don't compromise your japa, don't compromise your spirituality. That's a definite message. Have had to relearn the importance of japa. Yeah, one of the best ways, you don't want to, like, some people say, well, I don't have faith in Krishna consciousness, I don't know if it works. I go, leave. You'll know it works, because when you leave, you'll crash. You'll get addicted to all the things that you used to do before you were a devotee. That proves it works. So Maitreya is saying, sometimes you have to mess up before you realize what Prabhupada's been telling you all along. It's like this. Yeah, but let me try this. And then I try this, and then I mess up. And wow, we've gone over time. You got a 20-minute bonus today. And I've got a big day ahead of me. Yeah, well, it hurts, yeah. Well, you know, what it said. See, here's the thing. Like Maitreya is saying, you know, you learn the hard way and it hurts and you suffer a lot through it. In bad relationships, you suffer in Maya, you hurt other people, you hurt yourself. And that's true. But for some of us, we'll never learn unless we go through that. That's unfortunately the only way we can learn. So, you know, if that's the only way you can learn, then be grateful that you learned it. And pray. I always like to pray, Krishna, please give me intelligence so like I can learn the right way instead of the wrong way. So that's the idea. You know, some things in my life I know I could never have learned without going through certain situations. And I can see that Krishna put me in situations and put people in my life that were the perfect teachers, because I needed to realize that it doesn't work when I go left, it only works when I go right. But my conditioning was pulling me left. And every time pull left, whap, slap in the face. Thank you, Krishna. I know I'm supposed to go right. And it pushes me back right. And every time I start to veer left again, whap, push me. Thank you, Krishna. And you know, after so many whap, whap, whaps, I don't go left anymore. It's clear. It's clear. That's left. And when you go left, you get whapped in the face. So don't go left. But how many times do I have to get whapped? Is whapped a word? Slapped. If whapped is not a word, we have just made it a word. Whapped is slap is not so hard. Whap is like whap. Whap is like whap. And slap is like slap. So I got whapped in the face. And after I got whapped in the face so many times, it's like, okay, I'm never looking left again, because I know what happens when I look left. So sometimes that's the only way we can learn. And if that's, that's the only way we can learn, so be it. But we have to accept that. You know, it's like, Krishna, why you keep slapping me or whapping me or wombing me or booming me? And if you could hear Krishna speak, he would say, because you're an idiot. And that's the only way you're going to learn. What other answer is there? I mean, you know, hate to be blunt, but my motto is get real. Get self-realized. Get real, Prabhu. Get self-realized. Yeah, so that's Krishna's mercy. So when you see it and you get hit enough, like, okay, I'm not doing that again. Krishna's made it obvious. Thank you, Krishna, for making that obvious. That is mercy. That's it. Right? So, yes, that's my realization. So what do we call this name of this class? Whapped into action. No, we call it whapped into self-realization. Wow, I got what? And everyone's going to go, what does whapped mean? You have to watch the class to find out. Whapped into self-realization. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we're going to end here. And then we'll do class tomorrow at the same time. And then maybe we'll continue reading from this letter. Although this letter doesn't apply exactly to this topic, it's such a powerful letter. I kind of want to relate it to this topic in some way, and how Prabhupada's trying to correct this devotee from being irresponsible, and see if we can kind of put it within the context. Okay, yes. If you learn and laugh at the same time, you learn more. Did you know that? Yeah, laughing, having fun is one of the best ways to learn. Keeps your attention. So I don't intentionally try to be funny. It's just, life is so funny. You don't have to be a comedian. If you just talk about life, it'll be funny. Because Krishna made this world so, like, you know, there's this show in America called Seinfeld, and my father was addicted to watching this show, and I used to take care of my father in 1995. So I go over to his house, and he like watched the show. So, you know, it's like the show's it's a small house, and the show's pervading. So I watched it a few times. And the show's just about Yeah. Whap is what it sounds like. Am I trying to say? Whap, whap, slap, bam, or bam. Krishna bams you. And so we watched this show. I watched it a few times. It's a comedy show. And it's all about life. Like all these, you do this, but that's not supposed to happen, and it happens. And this guy shows up, and he wasn't supposed to show up, because if he shows up, everything gets, It's like every show is like how everything's going wrong for everybody. And it's like 3 or 4 plots going on simultaneously, 3 or 4 different people, and how they interact. And the funny thing about it, it's like what real life is like. That's why it's funny. So if you talk about what life is really like, the way Krishna created this world and how it's funny, but we understand it's, we could laugh at it and go, thank you, Krishna, because I was about to drink this bottle of poison and you whapped me, so I couldn't drink it. Yeah. Otherwise, I've been drinking poison for so many lifetimes, I actually think it tastes good. I never drank alcohol except once when I was 18, just because I had to do it just so I could test it out. And, oh my God, I can't believe people drink alcohol. It tastes so bad. But, after a while, it's like, this is good beer, right? So, we're drinking poison in the material world, and after a while, it's like, yeah, this is good poison, yeah. I like it, it's not bad. Then you have all these different kinds of beers with exotic names on them, and even have one we saw in Poland called Guru. So you can follow your, I follow my guru, I drink beer. No. In the gas stations in Poland, they have 60 kinds of beer, because Poland means beer, as far as I could tell. So, it's like, to develop a taste for beer, that's for me. Crazy, huh? Yeah. And so it's poison, I'm drinking it, and I think it's good. So, we're in fortunate consideration. Maitreya says he was taking a ice cold bath and traveling Sankirtan, and then the wind came. Shamanandi wants to know how to improve japa. Just go to my website or my SoundCloud, and put tons of stuff on japa. Or arrange a japa workshop in your area. Yeah. Okay. So. Those, hey Maitreya, we all have these experiences. It's like. Yesterday I was doing Damodar Astaka, and I'm like, Mahatma, he's such a good singer. Everybody knows that, right? I mean, you all know that. I'm like the best. Yeah. I'm the man, right? So I'm thinking, we're leading Damodar Astaka, and I'm praying, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm a good singer also. And then all of a sudden, the PA system stops working. It's never stopped working before. There's no reason for it to stop working. It just stops, and I just started laughing. I go, Krishna, you got me on that one. You knew. I was thinking I was the man. So you just pulled the plug on me. Now nobody can hear you chant. And I was chanting, going, oh my God, Krishna, you are so clever, real. You're a jokester. It's like. Or sometimes, I'll be given a class and I'll be talking about something, and all electricity will go off, lightning will come, the tape recorders turn off. It's like, oh, I must have been saying the wrong thing. Krishna didn't want it recorded. It's like, I'm sure you've all had those experiences, right? You're just about to do something, and it's the wrong thing, and a devotee comes in, hey Prabhu, let's go here, we really need you to do this, and you're 1 second before, from destroying yourself, and some Prabhu comes, or you walk and you're about to do it and you trip and you fall. And you go, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to do that. I'm sure you've all had that experience. Isn't Krishna amazing? Okay, so we're going to end now, and then we'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Standard. Of course, you all are, I don't know what's going on, but I think tomorrow is possible is daylight savings time, which would totally throw things off. So if you're going to come to class tomorrow, you need to check, and I didn't check yet, in Florida, if tomorrow's daylight savings, fall back. That means when we get up in the morning, we're going to turn the clock back. Spring forward, fall back. Turn the clock back an hour. So this would be an hour earlier. So why don't you check that out? Otherwise you're going to miss it. But it means we may start an hour earlier tomorrow, which would be 7:30. That will now be 8:30. Is that right? So 7 o'clock, 6. Yeah, it'll get light earlier as far as I guess. So we could be an hour earlier. Yeah. Just be objective. Eddie's saying, you help me analyze objectively. Yeah, just be objective. And yeah, so it is daylight saving. So anyway, so we should be starting an hour earlier tomorrow. It'll still be the same time here. I mean, it'll be the same time, I don't know, for you. Here, I'm going to do it at 8:30 my time, but 8:30 my time is going to be an hour earlier, apparently. But let's double check. Okay? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.